Hello, welcome to Rando Tech Info and our full review of the Galaxy Fit 3. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Galaxy Fit series, it's basically Samsung's fitness-focused alternative to their more expensive flagship Galaxy Watch series. The Fit 3 is actually more of a fitness band than a watch, and while it does have some things going for it, unfortunately, I feel like for this review we have to start with something a little less positive.
Well, I don't like the sound of that.
Because I am a tech enthusiast at heart, normally when I do a review I like to start with the good stuff, unless there is some deal-breaking issue. Because if there is, I don't want to waste your time telling you about everything else first, and sadly, this device has one of those issues. At least it will be for some people. Battery life. On Sammy's site, they claim the band can last up to 13 days on a single charge. And in all of my testing, I was never able to come close to this result. In my first test, I put the fully charged Fit 3 on my wrist on a Sunday evening, and 48 hours later, it was already down to 15%. Now, I did spend a decent amount of time using the band and setting it up during that time, which can put a strain on the battery. So I decided to start the test over and try again. And this time, the result was even worse, with the band completely running out of juice in less than 48 hours, which for a product advertising 13 days of battery life, is pretty awful. Now up to this point, I pretty much had everything on the band turned on, including continuous heart rate and stress tracking. It was tracking my blood oxygen during sleep, heart fall detection was on, and so was the always on display. So at this point, I started systematically turning off features to see if I could get the band to achieve its claimed 13 days of battery life, and the short version is no. No, I was not. Even after turning off all of the continuous health tracking features, including fall detection, and turning off the always on display, I was only able to get around 7 days of battery life out of the Fit 3. I don't actually have an exact measurement because it died during the night going into the 7th day, so technically it didn't even last 7 days. And keep in mind that while I use my wearables a decent amount to check my notifications, and yes, there were a few 30-minute strength training workouts mixed in there, my use of the band wouldn't be considered anything heavy or unusual. Now hopefully this is something that Samsung gets resolved in the future with a software update, because as of right now, this device's battery life is a pretty far cry from Samsung's claims. And there is one other not so great thing that needs to be mentioned right off the jump here as well.
For God's sakes, what now?
There is no speaker or mic on this device. Now this can probably be forgiven for the price point, even though there are some similarly priced wearables that do have these features. But my big issue is with Samsung's presentation. On Samsung's website, it says the band has instant notifications and media controls. And while technically this is true, I also think it's misleading, because the picture of the band makes it look like you can use it for calls. The band does notify you when you get calls, which is useful, but you can only use it to reject calls. You can't actually take calls with the band because, as we mentioned before, there is no speaker or mic. The picture also makes it look like you can use the watch for texting. Once again, this is technically true, but it's also a very limited feature. You can see texts and you can reply by selecting from a list of quick responses. But there is no voice to text and no keyboard, so you can only use quick responses. However, in Samsung's defense, you can at least customize those responses. Once again, my issue here isn't really with the product itself, just how Samsung is presenting the product on their website. Now with all that out of the way, the good news is most everything else about the Fit 3 is pretty good. It has a nice looking 1.6-inch display with a tolerable bezel, and with auto brightness turned on, it gets bright enough to be seen outdoors, which isn't something you should take for granted at its sub $70 price point. It's lightweight, comfortable, and unless your wrists are really small, should be a decent fit. Performance is quick and responsive. You can top off and get a 60% charge in around 30 minutes. It has a fully customizable app drawer, and you can reorder and customize your tiles. Haptics are good. It's IP68 and 5 ATM rated, has rock-solid Bluetooth 5.3 connectivity, and even though there is no App Store access because this isn't a Wear OS device, the band comes with all the basic apps you would expect, and it has an absolute truckload of watch faces to choose from. There is one other thing that needs to be mentioned, which I think is a good thing, but I just want to be clear about. It seems the band can be linked to all modern Android devices using Samsung's Galaxy Wearable app. And I say seems because the band isn't sold in all regions by Samsung, at least not on their website. In fact, I had to purchase the Fit 3 from Amazon in order to get it shipped here. Now this made me a little nervous because I was worried the Fit 3 might be geo-locked here in the States, but I can happily tell you that that isn't the case. And I was able to pair the Fit 3 to my phone through Samsung's app without issue, at least after I got the language switched over to English from Italian, which was easy enough to do. So I assume the Fit 3 will work for you no matter what corner of the world you reside in, but I can't guarantee it. A few other things that need to be mentioned is the band has no digital assistant like Google Assistant or Bixby, there's no LTE variant, there's no built-in GPS tracking, and it has quick release watch straps. And while they are super easy to take off and on, it means you won't be able to use traditional standard straps. And while these things are all certainly drawbacks, considering the price point, I think they are reasonable drawbacks.
Fair enough.
As mentioned earlier, at 18.5 grams, the Fit 3 is very comfortable to wear and provides a really nice form factor for all of your exercise activities. Now, the accuracy of the Fit 3's health and fitness tracking is probably what I would officially call okay. When I wore the Fit 3 simultaneously with Samsung's much more expensive flagship wearable, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, results were oftentimes similar, but other times not so much. But the trick here is knowing which one of these devices is more accurate, and if I'm being honest, it's kind of hard to know. So for this type of information, my current go-to is the Qualified Scientist. And on his YouTube channel, he has tested both the Galaxy 6 series and the Fit 3. And if you want all the nitty-gritty details about how the Fit 3 measures up against the Galaxy Watches or other wearables in general, I will leave a link to his review of the Fit 3 below, but the short version is, the Fit 3 actually hangs pretty well with the latest flagship Galaxy Watches, at least where exercise and sleep tracking is concerned. However, Sammy's devices in general can be pretty inconsistent with their health tracking. They do a great job of tracking some exercises and less so with others, and some nights I find sleep tracking to be particularly wanting. For example, there are some nights I know I wake up in the middle of the night, and as often as not, Sammy's wearables don't catch it. In my personal testing, I would say the Fitbit-enabled Pixel Watch 2 is the most accurate health tracker I have used. And I would say all recent Samsung devices, including the Fit 3, are definitely a step behind that. Still, the fact you can get similar health tracking accuracy to watches that cost over 4 times as much as the Fit 3 is still pretty impressive.
Most impressive.
And finally, let's talk a little bit more about that price. As mentioned earlier, here in the States, to pick up the Fit 3, I had to go through the Zon. And over there, I was able to pick it up for 69 bucks. Although as of the publication of this video, the price seems to have dropped to 65 bucks. And for this price, if you can look past Samsung's inaccurate battery life claims, I don't think this is a terrible deal. Especially if you are someone like me, who tops off their wearable every morning in the time between waking up and leaving their house. Yes, you do give up some things that you get on more expensive wearables like a speaker and microphone, a digital assistant, App Store access, and onboard GPS, but most other features found on flagship wearables are here. And it even has some advantages that some other more expensive wearables don't have, like a lighter and more affordable form factor. But that's enough about what I think. If you wind up picking up the Fit 3, please come back here and let us know down in the comments what you think of it, and specifically what kind of battery life you are seeing. That way we can all continue to learn from each other and make more informed buying decisions. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching, and until next time, this is Rando Tech Info, signing out.